Sonic games have always been something that I can come back to at any time. When you're depressed, watching a movie, or even taking a shit.
Ignore that last one.
No, but really, being able to play Sonic games on the go seems like such a no-brainer now these days, but back in the day, it was something that wasn't quite as common as you'd think. Mobile games started off really simple, but nowadays it's honestly awe-inspiring what some mobile game devices are capable of. The Blue Blur actually has quite the library when it comes to the games on pretty much all mobile devices, unless you're using a Nokia or I don't know, a fucking Google Pixel.
No hate, of course.
So today I thought it would be really fun to go ahead and rank each of the titles and see how well some of them hold up to today's standards. Oh, and I don't want to forget to mention, I actually went ahead and made a tier list that you guys can use in the description down below, just so you can make your own list and place certain games differently, and we can see what differences we have.
Just make sure you have the same placements as I do, or else you're wrong. But without dragging this out any more than we have to, let's go ahead and rank every single mobile Sonic game.
First up, the D tier.
Now these games, well, they suck ass. There's not really a lot to say.
Starting off strong, we have Sonic Runner's Adventure, which is like taking something that was genuinely great and taking a massive shit on it.
Yeah, so unlike the original beloved Sonic Runners, Gameloft took it, put it in their hands, and, well, you get to see how that turns out.
Just going off from a completely visual standpoint, it's really sad to see how the game was supposed to be for the fans of the original game, since there was a decent outcry after the game's cancellation, and Sega responded by giving us the finger and a pale imitation. The models, the general look of the game, or even just the stages are all a complete 180 from the visuals of the original.
RA also struggled because of its simplified and repetitive gameplay, plus it didn't even have any of the depth or variety that the original Sonic Runners had.
Plus, it didn't really help that most of, if not all, the multiplayer content got the boot. This just made the overall time spent with the game feel more limited and, well, frankly, boring.
But this wouldn't be the only bad sequel with adventure in the title. And with staying on the topic of pale imitations,
Sonic Dash 2. Just like Runner's Adventure, Sonic Dash was a sequel to another beloved original game, and this time it was centered all around the Boom franchise, since it did just come out at the time. Just like the original, it does its job of being an endless runner, but to give some credit to the game, the new powers, depending on which character you play as, are a nice addition, such as Knuckles having a stomping power, which at times can be overpowered as shit.
Surprisingly, this game did get updates every now and then, having its last one be in 2021 for Vector.
It's actually kind of interesting that a game like this still gets updates semi-recently, even if it was a couple years ago by this video's release. So, for those 6 Sonic Dash 2 fans, just know that Sega is still looking out for you. Following up, the C tier.
The games can really only get better from here. So, to start out,
Sonic Mania.
Now, for those of you who are immediately rushing to the comments about to correct me, Sonic Mania actually does have a mobile port. It's just tied to Netflix. I can't make that up.
This is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. But yeah, gameplay wise, this is just Sonic Mania, but some third-party developer took the time to just put it on mobile. The Taxman had no involvement with this port, so the game is faithful and nothing really does change. So I'm personally ranking it so low because why tie this to Netflix and not just have a genuine port done by the Taxman itself? But, you know, fuck me, I guess. Mania should have just gotten a regular port like Sonic 1 CD and 2 did. Sonic Jump Fever. Honestly, this game isn't too bad. The main idea of both Sonic Jump games is, well, he jumps.
I hope that was obvious.
And well, a lot of the gameplay mainly revolves around jumping up and saving flickies. However, unlike the original, Sonic Jump Fever is more of an endless arcade style game versus the format of level to level like the original. The visuals are also lively and fast-paced with vibrant backgrounds that change dynamically as you ascend. The game uses bold, saturated colors and flashy particle effects, especially during the Fever mode, which is where the screen just lights up and brights up with bursts, power-ups, and energy trails, and it's basically as great as it sounds.
I do think for me personally, the game does get repetitive at times, but if you're ever bored and you need 10 minutes to kill, this one's for you.
Following up, Sonic 4 Episode 1. How can it be that a technically demade version of a game has a better looking model of the main character than the HD release? Make that make sense. Although there isn't a super big amount of changes by any means between the two versions, some stages are changed, like Casino Street Act 2, which had a card gimmick implemented into the level. However, on mobile instead just changes into this point collection based level, or with Lost Labyrinth getting rid of the torch based level for this Tilt Controls minecart stage, which either way, I don't really understand the reason behind the change, but who fucking cares, it's Sonic 4.
And unfortunately for us, Sonic 4 has a little brother.
Sonic 4 Episode 2, a mobile port of a game from over 10 years ago, and it still looks better than Superstars. Episode 2's mobile port is actually relatively faithful to the original game, having all the levels from the main game present, and still lets the player play through episode metal if you own both episodes of Sonic 4. There are some small changes like special stages having the option to control with tilt controls, but it's expected on a demade version of the game.
And that's what I'm gonna leave it at for the Sonic 4 duology. Definitely not my favorite outing of the Blue Blur, but definitely not the worst way to experience these games.
Moving on, the B tier.
The games past this point are ones I genuinely do find myself revisiting from time to time. So to start off strong, we have...
This game is one of the older ones on the list, being one of the many first when Sonic started having games on the mobile side of things. This game is pretty simple, going from level to level and saving flickies while you defeat Eggman. You can also take rewards you earn in each stage and add them to Sonic so his stats are increased. Plus, one of the coolest parts about this game are the alternative stages and multiple playable characters like Knuckles or Silver.
Final thing to note is that unlike Jump Fever, Sonic Jump actually does have an ending with the flickies and some really nice art.
I won't forget this!
No, wait, it can't be. What the fuck?
Next up, Sonic at the Olympic Games. This game is actually pretty similar to most of the other Olympic titles Sonic has taken a noticeable role in, just lacking one Italian plumber. Most of the events you'd expect to appear do with the 100 to 400 meter dash, the hurdles, archery, hammer throw, and even long jump all make a return here. And the gameplay is actually not too bad to control, which is a pleasant surprise. The visuals are also really nice and remind me of the Mario and Sonic games where clearly a lot of this inspiration comes from with this title. But before we do move on, I should mention that the soundtrack for this game slaps. Themes like the Deadly Six battle make a return and with a fresh flavor thanks to the remix, and it sounds fucking phenomenal. Take a listen. Following up, Sonic Force's Speed Battle.
Now, some may call this Sonic Dash 3, but by that logic, Sonic Superstars is Sonic Mania 2. My point is, it's fucking dumb to say.
The gameplay of Speed Battle is having a similar endless runner style while at the same time having the competitive aspect from racing other players to earn points and try to win first place.
Personally, the reason I gave this game the ranking it got is just because of how regularly the game was updated.
In Sonic Force's Speed Battle, the main appeal comes with unlocking the new characters, whether that be through earning points for them in a chest or just getting their cards in a safe from Tails. But with the new characters comes different rarities and they have different stats. For example, in common you could get characters like Sonic or Amy, but when you move up to rare you can see characters like Tangle or Jet the Hawk. Where things really get interesting though comes with the special tiers, where we get to see a lot of fun characters like Elf Classic Sonic, Movie Sonic, Excalibur Sonic, the Werehog, or just fucking Chuck from Angry Birds.
Continuing to move up in the ranks, we have the A tier, and to start out,
Sonic CD. Now, funny enough, this was actually the first time the Taxman or Christian Whitehead worked on any official piece of Sonic media, which is so great because without him we wouldn't have amazing titles like Sonic Mania for Netflix. Point is, the game is a faithful port of Sonic CD, but also adds in new features like a playable Tails and even offers a really nice HUD menu. The game is simplistic for what it is, and I do think it does succeed at what it was trying to do. Following up, Sonic 1 Classic. Now this is how you remaster a game. The game feels a lot smoother with this new 16:9 aspect ratio, giving it a true modern experience while including many new features such as Tails and Knuckles both being able to be playable characters, a time attack mode, and even achievements.
And although it was truly never needed, giving Sonic a spin dash in the original Sonic 1 makes the game 1000 times better.
Right after Sonic 1 Classic, Sonic Dream Team.
Not gonna lie, visually this might be the most impressive game on our list, and although it's a mobile game, it does feel the most like a console-style title.
Sonic Dream Team is a fully 3D Sonic game, which is more rare to see than me having a will to live. It uses controls that are similar to the boost formula, has a boost, homing attack, and all that jazz. Honestly, the only downside is the fact that it's exclusive to Apple's gaming subscription on the Apple Arcade. But just because it's on mobile doesn't change how fun some of the levels can be to traverse through. You can also connect the controller and play the game that way, which is what I did. Dream Team also features 6 playable characters separated by character types, with speed being for Sonic and Amy, power for Rouge and Knuckles, and lastly flight for Tails and Cream. Fun thing to note is also that all the stages contain 5 missions within them, which you can use to unlock dream orbs, which you'll need to progress the story. These missions can consist of collecting keys or just being super simple like reaching a goal. I will definitely say though, during the earlier portion of the game, the levels are a lot of fun, but I do think that as the game progresses and with some of the bosses you see, I do believe the quality does decline a little bit, but that doesn't ruin the whole experience for me.
Speaking of story though, it's actually not too bad and offers a bunch of fresh new ideas.
Eggman is basically trying to take over the world by using dreams as a weapon. Thus, this results in a lot of the levels containing platforming with exploration of these surreal, dreamlike environments to defeat Eggman, which I do think is a really nice touch. Also, I must say, I am a fan of the newly introduced character of Ariam, who has a really good design and has a noticeable role in the story. Also, we cannot miss out on that surreal animation that plays when you open the game, directed by the GOAT, Tyson Hess himself. Overall though, the plot of this game is extremely generic, and that really doesn't ruin anything for me though. Going from a gameplay standpoint though, the levels can start off really strong, but sadly end up repetitive and boring at times. Same can be said for the bosses. Sonic Dream Team got the placement it is because I really did want to have a little bit of an objective standpoint when it came to this game specifically, and I do totally think that the game is still worth a try if you haven't played it yourself and you can form your own opinion on the game. And if you find yourself enjoying the video up to this point, make sure you press that subscribe and like button as it's always appreciated, and a lot of this effort is just for you guys.
Moving up in the rankings one final time, we have the S tier. Now, these are typically the games I find myself replaying the most and enjoying the most, and these are typically the ones I recommend others to start playing. So, to start off,
Sonic 2 Classic. I think by this point, it's clear to see how well done these faithful ports to mobile are. Once again, the Taxman does it again, this time covering the Blue Blur's second outing. Within this game, you'll see a return to most of the features that were first introduced in Sonic CD Classic and Sonic 1 Classic, but also adds a bunch of new features like this boss rush mode, which is actually a lot of fun. I think though, to be frank, one of the best parts about this game specifically getting widescreen is that it helps me avoid all the bullshit enemies that you see in Metropolis Zone, not to mention the massively improved special stages, because I used to hate those things as a kid. But overall, this is another excellent port done by the Taxman, and honestly, it's a shame we never saw that mobile port of Sonic 3, despite seeing a tease at what it could have potentially looked like. But, I mean, I guess you have Sonic Origins. Oh, who am I kidding? Go play Sonic 3 Air, it's so much better.
if there's one endless runner that I truly believe that you can always come back to and never get bored of, it's Temple Run. But Sonic Dash does come second.
This game is the face of all mobile Sonic games, let's be honest. Although there isn't anything extremely notable, Sonic Dash does have multiple levels to run through and even multiple playable characters, including but not limited to Silver the Hedgehog, Classic Sonic, Cream the Rabbit, Jet the Hawk, and even fucking Andronic the Android.
I can't make this shit up.
Point is, this game is historical and needs no introduction. It's well known to be one of the most classic mobile Sonic games in the community, and I do think it deserves the placement I gave it. Last but not least, Sonic Runners.
That's right, I see best for last. Well, I didn't really have another choice.
Everything about this game is perfect. The visuals, the levels, and even the gameplay. This is Sonic's best endless runner, and I can say that without hesitation, as there are also a lot of fans who were genuinely saddened by the cancellation of the game, including myself.
But then again, it shouldn't have made all those offensive jokes.
The game's only critique I have, honestly, is just that it offers a gacha system to unlock new characters and companions and power-ups, but that doesn't entirely ruin it. I do think it definitely adds variety to the gameplay. But being able to unlock characters like the Werehog or getting companions that reference previous titles like Chip or Caliburn is still really cool. From an overall look at the game, Sonic Runners has to be the best that the Blue Blur has to offer when it comes to games on the go. Now, before we wrap things up, here is a final look at our rankings. Sonic mobile games are always going to be something I think I'd go back to. Even after all these years, they just have this nostalgic pull that keeps me coming back. Because despite the quality of some of these mobile games, the Blue Blur has a genuinely good library on some of the games you can take a gander at and would want to play. Sure, not all of them are hits, but the ones that stand out are worthy of every bit of time you spend on them. And I will say that I feel it was sort of easy to figure out what placements I wanted to give each game, as I kind of grew up playing each of these games individually. But if you ended up having a completely different ranking, 1, you're wrong, but 2, seriously go in the comments down below and let me know how different your ranking might be compared to mine when it comes to ranking every mobile Sonic game.
Hey, and welcome to the end of the video. Socials to my Twitter, Twitch, and Discord will be in the description down below if that interests you. Huge thank you to all my members of the channel, and thank you guys for even giving me a dime. If you want to be a member and have your name be at the end of videos, make sure you press the join button right next to the subscribe button, which you should also totally press, by the way, because guess what, it's free, and if you regret it for whatever reason, you can always come back and unsubscribe later. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a good one.